At my son's wedding, his new bride demanded the keys to my apartment, my only home, in front of everyone. When I refused, she slapped me. I left and made one call. 30 minutes later, a man appeared at the door. When the groom saw him, he took off his wedding ring and followed him out. That man was Henry, and he was mine. The town car moved through the city like a ghost, its engine a whisper against the roar of my own thoughts. Leo sat beside me, his body rigid, his breathing ragged. He stared at his hands, now bare of the wedding band he'd worn for less than 6 hours. The dim streetlights strobed across his face, illuminating tracks of silent tears. I held his hand, not squeezing, just anchoring. The brass key was a cold, familiar weight in my other palm. I watched Henry's profile in the rearview mirror, the strong line of his jaw, the focused stillness. 18 years. He'd aged, but the essence was unchanged, a calm, deep-rooted oak in a world of bending reeds. We didn't speak until the car glided to a stop in front of my building. The familiar, slightly worn brick facade, the glow from Mrs. Henderson's second-floor window, the old maple tree on the sidewalk. Home. Henry turned off the engine and got out. He opened my door first, offering a hand. His grip was warm, steadying. He then opened Leo's door. Leo stumbled out, looking up at the building as if he'd never seen it before. "Come on up," I said, my voice sounding hoarse. We rode the small, creaking elevator in silence. Inside my apartment, the familiar smells of lemon polish, old books, and the lavender sachet in the linen closet wrapped around me like a bomb. I flipped on the lights, illuminating the lived-in comfort of the space. The overstuffed armchair by the window, the shelves crowded with photos of Leo growing up, the worn Persian rug. Leo stood just inside the door, a stranger in his own tuxedo. "Sit, Leo," I said, heading to the kitchen. "I'll make tea." Henry took up a post by the fireplace, not intruding, but present, a sentinel. I busied myself with the kettle, the mugs, the chamomile tea bags. The routine was automatic, a shield against the enormity of the night. When I returned to the living room with a tray, Leo was on the sofa, head in his hands. Henry had not moved. I poured. The silence was thick, waiting to be shaped. "I'm so sorry, Mom." Leo's voice was muffled by his palms. "I'm so sorry. I froze. I didn't know what to do." "I know," I said, handing him a mug. "You were caught between a rock and a hard place. Or rather, between your mother and your wife." "She's not my wife," he said, looking up, his eyes red-rimmed. "The ceremony. But the license. We were going to sign it tomorrow." He let out a shaky breath that was almost a laugh. "God, what have I done?" "You left," Henry said from his station. His voice was matter-of-fact. "That was the first right thing you've done in months regarding this." Leo flinched. "You've been watching." "Watching?" Henry's pale eyes met his. "No. But your mother was worried." She spoke of Anya's possessiveness, her interest in assets over people. "I have ears." I listened. A flicker of my old life with David came back. Henry in our kitchen, drinking coffee, saying little but missing nothing. A quiet force in the periphery. "Who are you, really?" Leo asked, the child's question in a man's broken voice. "I mean, I know your Uncle Henry, Dad's friend. You sent checks for birthdays. You came to his funeral. But tonight, the way people looked at you." Judge Arthur looked like he'd seen a ghost. Uncle Michael stood at attention. Henry glanced at me. "A question?" I gave a slight nod. "Your father," Henry began, choosing his words with the care of a sapper defusing a bomb, "didn't just save my life in the Gulf. He pulled me from a burning vehicle when our unit was ambushed. He carried me 2 miles to an extraction point, under fire. He wasn't obligated. Our units were just co-located. He did it because it was right." I remembered David telling me the sanitized version. "Had a busy day, love. Gave a buddy a lift. I owed him a blood debt," Henry continued. "In the world I came from, and the world I moved in after. Such debts are the only currency that never devalues. I swore to him I would look after his family should anything happen. And then, it did. He nodded toward me. A cancer that took David with brutal speed. But you didn't just send money, Leo said. No, I ensured certain obstacles were removed. The predatory loan against this apartment after your father's medical bills. The zoning dispute that would have turned your building into condos. The man who followed your mother home from the bank one evening. Henry's tone was flat, reciting facts. Marian never asked. She rarely knew. That was the agreement. I was a silent partner in your safety. Leo looked at me, stunned. You knew? Not the details, I said softly. I knew Henry was there, in the shadows. I knew if the world ever caved in, he was my call to make. Code brass key. It was our phrase for an existential threat to the family. And Anya was that? Leo whispered. Her demand, no, I said. Her violence, yes. But more than that, it was your silence, Leo. In that moment, you were not my son. You were a man allowing his mother to be violated. That was the cave-in. The words hung in the air, brutal and necessary. Leo looked shattered. What happens now? He asked, looking between us. Now, Henry said, pushing off from the mantle, you sleep. You process. Tomorrow, the world will react. Anya and her family will be furious. They will threaten, they will bluster, they may try legal means. You will need to decide who you are. Your mother and I will handle the rest. Handle it how? A ghost of something, not a smile, but an expression of ultimate competence touched Henry's mouth. By ensuring they understand the cost of coming after what is yours. Not with threats, with consequences. He moved toward the door. I'll be downstairs. In the car. You are both safe for the night. Henry, I said, standing. You don't have to. Yes, he said, his gaze softening just for me. I do. Good night, Marian. Leo. He left, closing the door with a quiet click. The apartment felt both emptier and more full. Leo was crying again, silent tears of shame and grief. I sat beside him and pulled him into my arms. Like when he was a boy who'd skinned his knee. He crumpled against me. I lost everything tonight, he wept. No, I murmured into his hair, staring at the brass key on the coffee table where I'd placed it. You just found out what everything is really worth. The dawn brought no peace, only the cold light of aftermath. Leo, still in his rumpled tuxedo pants and a borrowed t-shirt, stared at his silent phone, now buzzing to life with a fury. Dozens of missed calls from Anya, her parents, her friends. Text messages ranging from pleading to vicious. Social media notifications. Anya had already begun the narrative. A single, artfully filtered photo of her. Makeup smudged but beautiful in her wedding dress, looking devastated. The caption, when you give your whole heart and they choose to walk away. Family shouldn't mean manipulation and cruelty. Hashtag heartbroken, hashtag wedding day truth. The comments were a tidal wave of support for her, speculation, and venom directed at the monster-in-law and the spineless son. She's making you the villain, Leo said, his voice hollow. And me. She's making me her tragic victim. It's her opening move, I said, placing a plate of toast in front of him. Control the story. My own phone rang. It was my sister, Clara, Marian. My God, I'm just hearing versions. What happened? Are you all right? People are saying Leo left Anya at the altar for you. By mid-morning, the legal threat arrived via email to Leo, a letter from Anya's father's lawyer, citing breach of promise, emotional distress, and a claim to joint marital assets, including a list that shockingly included my apartment, citing verbal promises and commitments made within the family unit. They were moving fast, trying to establish a precedent before the shock wore off. Leo panicked. They can't take the apartment, can they? They have no right. They have no legal right, came Henry's voice from the doorway. He'd come upstairs, carrying a simple leather briefcase. He'd changed into a gray sweater and trousers, looking like a retired academic, not a spook. But they have money and anger. They will try to bury you in paperwork and legal fees until you capitulate. He set the briefcase on the table. May I? We nodded. He opened it, revealing not weapons, but files, a sleek tablet, and a secure phone. Anya's father, Robert Vance, Henry began, tapping the tablet. Vance Properties specializes in aggressive buyouts of rent-controlled and legacy lease buildings. He has a history of dubious tactics, anonymous complaints to city housing, offering cash for keys to elderly tenants under pressure, lawsuits against holdouts. He's currently under a very quiet SEC investigation for insider trading related to a downtown development deal. That information became less quiet this morning. Leo's eyes widened. How? Henry ignored the question. Anya is his protege. She has a sealed juvenile record for theft and coercion steaming, credit cards from college roommates, threatening a professor for a better grade. She is adept at manipulating systems and people. Her relationship with you, Leo, followed a textbook pattern of love bombing, isolation, and then testing dominance. Last night was the ultimate test. He showed Leo screenshots of text messages from Anya to a friend from months ago. The old bat's apartment is the key. Literally, once we have that, we have the equity. Leo will do what I say. He's putty. Leo looked like he'd been punched in the gut. I'm an idiot. You were in love, I corrected gently. And she was a professional. The legal letter is a bluff, Henry said, closing the tablet. But we will not bluff back. We will respond with precision. How? Leo asked. By reminding Robert Vance that some debts are more powerful than money. Henry said, his eyes cold. The second investigator on his case. She is the daughter of a man whose life I saved in Belgrade. The judge who would be assigned any civil case he files. Arthur, your godfather. The bank that holds his loans, its chairman owes me a rather significant favor from when his son got into trouble in Dubai. It was a glimpse into the web. Henry wielded a network of obligations, honor, and silenced scandals. It wasn't brute force. It was leverage. The absolute understanding of pressure points. What do you need from me? Leo asked, his spine straightening slightly. Two things, Henry said. First, you publicly and formally repudiate Anya's narrative. Not with a social media war. A single, clear statement, drafted by a lawyer I will provide. It will state you left the relationship due to irreconcilable differences and unacceptable behavior towards your family. It will not engage. It will be a wall. And second, you work, Henry said, looking at him squarely. You get a job. You contribute here. You look your mother in the eye every day and you rebuild what you broke. Not with words, with time, with presence. It was a penance. Leo nodded, accepting it. And for you, Marion, Henry said, turning to me. You live your life. You go to the library, you have lunch with Clara. You tend to your geraniums on the fire escape. You show no fear, because you have none. I will be in the vicinity. For the first time since the slap, a real, fragile sense of safety began to seep into the room. The enemy had names, and Henry knew their weaknesses. The battle lines were drawn. And in that hold, something shifted. A spark of heat in the cold void. A recognition of two lonely souls, bound by love for the same lost man. We kissed. It was desperate, grateful, full of pain and a shocking, life-affirming hunger. And then we broke apart, gasping. David, I whispered, his ghost between us. Henry closed his eyes, resting his forehead against mine. I know. I made a promise to him, Marion. To protect you, not to. This would feel like a betrayal. Of him, of my debt. My heart broke all over again, in a new way. So what do? We remember who we are, he said, his voice firm but his eyes tortured. You are David's wife. the mother of his son. I am his brother in every way that matters, and I will be that for as long as you need me. But I can't be more. The debt, it has to be clean. He left that night. He set up the silent safeguards, the network, the code Brasky protocol, and then he stepped back into the shadows. A guardian angel with a broken heart, present. I regretted that choice every day, Henry said softly, placing the dried plate on the rack. But I never doubted it was the right one. Until now. Why now? I asked, my heart thudding. Because now, the threat isn't from the outside world. It came from within Leo's life. My duty is to dismantle that threat. And in doing so, he turned to face me fully. The debt to David is being paid, in full and in blood. It will be discharged. And when it is, I will be a free man. And I will ask you, Marian Ellis, if I can finally kiss you again without a ghost between us. Tears blurred my vision. I reached out and touched his cheek, the stubble rough under my fingers. It's been a long wait, Henry. For both of us, he said, covering my hand with his. With Henry's network holding the legal and financial wolves at bay, the real work began. The emotional salvage operation. Leo was true to his word. He got a job, a humble one, as an assistant manager at a local independent bookstore. A far cry from the lucrative finance track Anya had pushed him toward. He came home smelling of paper and coffee. He paid me rent, which I secretly put into a savings account for him. He did the grocery shopping. He fixed the leaky faucet in the bathroom. It was in these quiet, domestic moments that the deconstruction of Anya happened. He'd be chopping vegetables and suddenly say, she hated when I cooked, said it was emasculating. Or he'd look at a photo of himself from a year ago, happier, thinner, and murmur, she controlled what I ate, said I had to maintain the brand for her social circle. He was unpacking the psychological suitcase she'd packed for him, examining each item with new, horrified eyes. One evening, he broke down. She made me feel like I was nothing without her. Like my love for you, for this place, was a weakness. She called it a womb attachment. He sobbed, the shame pouring out. And I believed her. I'm so sorry, Mom. I let her make me ashamed of loving you. I held him. The strongest men are never ashamed of love. Leo, it's their anchor, not their chain. Meanwhile, Henry and I orbited each other. The promise of a future, a fragile, glowing thing between us. We took walks in the park. He told me more about his life, not the operational details, but the shape of it. The loneliness, the constant movement, the moral compromises balanced by acts of silent justice. He'd worked for a private, extra-governmental organization. He only called the consultancy, a group that solved problems for governments and corporations. When the official channels failed, he was a resolver, a cleaner of messes. Now retired in name, but with his network intact. My love for him, which had been a dormant seed, began to unfurl, tentative and strong. But Anya was not finished. Unable to win legally or financially, she went nuclear. She sold her story to a sensationalist online tabloid, jilted at the altar, inside the toxic grip of a monster-in-law and her shadowy enforcer. That article painted me as a manipulative, possessive widow who used a mysterious former intelligence operative, Henry, to break up her son's marriage out of jealousy. It was vile, full of half-truths and lurid speculation. The result was a deluge of online hate, nasty comments on the library's social media page where I volunteered, confrontational emails, a rock through Mrs. Henderson's window by mistake. The local news, smelling blood, wanted a comment. For the first time, I felt truly afraid. This was a poison I couldn't scrub away. Henry's calm, however, was unshaken. This is her last gambit, he said. She's trying to make your life unbearable, to force Leo back to her by proving the world is against you. We turn it back on her. How? Sue for libel. That takes years. No, Henry said, a steely glint in his eye. We'd tell a better story. A true one. He made a call. Not to a lawyer, but to a woman named Alara, a former journalist he'd once extracted from a hostage situation in Chechnya. She now ran a respected, fearless investigative journalism nonprofit. "I have a story for you, Alara," Henry said, "about predatory real estate, emotional abuse, and the weaponization of social media. The full, documented truth. You can have exclusive access." 2 days later, Alara and her team arrived discreet, professional. They interviewed Leo, who courageously gave them access to his texts, emails, and his personal journal from his time with Anya. They interviewed me. Henry provided them with documented, legally sourced evidence of Robert Vance's business practices and Anya's, sealed records obtained through a court order by Judge Arthur for the purposes of the article's fact-checking. The resulting piece was not published on a tabloid site. It appeared in a pillar of serious journalism. The headline was stark: "The Key to Control: How a Daughter of Real Estate Used Coercion, Lies, and a Wedding Day to Claim an Inheritance." It was devastatingly factual. It laid out Anya's pattern, her father's tactics, the wedding day ambush, the slap, the fraudulent legal claims, and the smear campaign. It painted me not as a monster, but as a resilient widow defending her home. It painted Leo as a man waking from a manipulative fog. And it mentioned Henry only as a longtime family friend providing support. His background left respectfully vague. The tide turned overnight. The online mob, fickle as ever, redirected its fury at Anya and her family. The news vans left my street. The Vance family, exposed and humiliated, went completely silent. Their social media accounts were deleted. Robert Vance resigned from his company's board amid the ongoing sex scandal. Anya had been defeated not by a fist, but by the truth. That night, Leo stood in the living room, looking at the brass key on the mantel where I'd finally placed it. "It's over," he said, not with triumph, but with a deep, weary relief. "This battle is," I said, "the war to be the man you want to be. That's just beginning." He nodded. "I know. And I want to do it here. But not in your space, Mom. I need to stand on my own." He took a deep breath. "I've saved some money. I'm going to look for my own place. Close by. But mine." It was the healthiest thing he could have said. My boy was finally growing up. "I'm proud of you," I said, my voice thick. He hugged me, a real, strong, uncomplicated hug. "I love you, Mom." After he went to bed, Henry and I stood on the small fire escape, looking at the city lights. "The debt is paid, Henry," I said softly. "You've more than fulfilled your promise to David." He turned to me. In the amber glow from the windows, his face was both fierce and tender. Then, as a free man, "Marion, may I kiss you?" My answer was to reach up and pull his face to mine. This kiss was nothing like the desperate, grief-stricken one of 18 years ago. This was slow, sweet, deep with promise and a future. It tasted of waiting, of patience, of a love that had been forged in loyalty and had finally earned its name. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "What now?" he whispered. I smiled, looking back into the warm light of my apartment, then at the man before me. "Now, Henry," I said, "we go inside." The following months were a season of healing and new growth. Leo found a small apartment 3 blocks away. He thrived at the bookstore, eventually starting a popular community book club. He began dating again, slowly, cautiously, a sweet graphic designer who loved his mother's cooking and had never heard of Anya Vance. Henry officially moved out of the ground floor studio and into my apartment. It wasn't a dramatic change. He simply belonged. His few possessions mingled with mine. His quiet strength became part of the furniture. We told Leo together, but he just smiled, a real, happy smile. "It's about time," he said. One afternoon, a letter arrived on heavy legal stationery. It was from Anya's lawyers. Not a threat, a proposal. in exchange for a legally binding agreement of non-disclosure from all parties, and a commitment from Leo to never speak of their relationship publicly again. The Vances would drop all potential claims, pay a nominal goodwill sum to Leo, and formally apologize. It was surrender. We discussed it as a family, Henry, Leo, and I, at the kitchen table. It's hush money, Leo said. It's closure, Henry countered. They want to disappear and rebuild elsewhere. This ensures they never bother you again. The apology is worthless, but the legal barrier is not. What do you want, Leo? I asked. He thought for a long time. I want to never think about her again. I want to know she can't pop up in 5 years. I want to be free. Then sign it, I said. He did. The money he put into a college fund for a future child. A symbolic act of turning poison into something good. With the past truly laid to rest, I faced my own future. The brass key. My apartment. It had been my fortress, my identity. But holding on to it now felt like living in a museum. Leo had his own life. Henry and I had a new one starting. One evening, I took the key from the mantel. I think I want to sell it, I said to Henry. He looked up from his book. Oh, it served its purpose. It kept me safe. It brought Leo home. It brought you back. But its job is done. I looked around. I want a place with a garden. Maybe a little sunlight. Somewhere we can choose together. Henry's smile was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Slow, warm, reaching his eyes. I'd like that very much. We sold the apartment to a lovely young family at a fair price, with the provision that Mrs. Henderson-to-be could stay as long as she liked. The brass key was passed to the new owners. I felt no pang, only a sense of rightness. With the proceeds and Henry's modest savings, we bought a small, bright cottage in a quiet neighborhood on the city's edge. It had a garden. Henry built a bench under a birch tree. The wedding we never had was a small, perfect gathering in that garden. 6 months later, just Leo and his girlfriend, Clara, and her husband, Judge Arthur, Colonel Michael, and a few other true friends. Henry wore a simple blue suit. I wore a cream-colored dress. We didn't need a minister. We spoke our own vows, simple promises of presence and partnership. I pledged to stand beside you, not in front or behind, Henry said, his voice clear. To be your sanctuary, as you have been mine. I pledged to share my key with you, I said, holding his hands. To unlock our days together with trust. And to always come home to you. Leo toasted us. To the best man I never knew I had, and the strongest woman I'll ever know. As the twilight deepened and fairy lights twinkled in the birch tree, I sat on our new bench, Henry's arm around me. Leo was laughing with his girlfriend by the rose bushes. I thought of the grand ballroom, the slap, the crushing humiliation. I thought of the 30-minute wait, and the man who appeared at the door. That man was now my husband. The son who stayed was now a man I respected. The key was gone, but the home it protected was everywhere in this garden. In this peace, in this hard-won, fiercely loved circle. Henry squeezed my shoulder, following my gaze. Happy, he murmured into my hair. I leaned into him, into the solid, quiet strength that had answered my call. I looked at our home, at our family. At the future we had forged from the ashes of a broken wedding. Yes, I said, and it was the deepest truth of my life. I am finally, completely, home.